Okay. Good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. Hello, and how are you? It's good to see you again. Tonight, I have a fun story. And it is the tale of how I obtained this bottle of Stagg and this bottle of MGP goodness. But you might be asking, what on goodness green's earth have these two bottles have in common? Well, back in November, I was moseying about my one of my local liquor stores, and I'm by my parents' house. I've been there before at their local liquor store several times. They have great picks, and the spirits manager had started a new process for getting their allocated barrels of whiskey or their allocated bottles of whiskey sold. So in New Jersey, if you're not familiar, it's kind of the wild, wild west. We're not a ABC state. We get our bottles, and if you know somebody, you can get a great price. If not, you pay secondary, usually 3 or 4 times MSRP for most really limited stuff. It's a rarity. There's no point systems. So on one hand, I can get almost any bottle that gets released. That's good. On the other hand, I have to pay several hundreds of dollars to get it. Contrast that with, say, a lottery system like PA or Virginia, maybe not Virginia, but PA, the neighboring state, a lottery system. Yes, I get a chance to buy those bottles for MSRP, but at the same time, there are going to be years where I don't get any bottles, hardly at all. Though I suppose that's better than what we have in New Jersey, because you can always enter the lottery, and if you get lucky, great, you get to buy a special bottle for MSRP, and then you can always just drive an hour or 2 or 4 to New Jersey and just buy whiskey for 4 or 5 times MSRP. I know. But essentially the story goes is that the spirits manager was trying something different, and he started doing bundles. So he had Pappy, Van Winkle Lot B, he had Stagg, he had Michter's 10-Year Rye 2023 edition, he had Master's Keep Voyage, I think. He had a bunch of different allocated bottles, Weller Full Proof, Weller 12-Year, Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace, Stagg. And one of the deals that he had for Stagg at the time was, the one that really caught my eye was this Stagg. Also, the Michter's 10-Year Rye, I think he wanted something like $430 for Michter's 10-Year Rye, an Old Potrero single barrel, and one other bottle that was around like an $80 or $90 bottle. So essentially, I would have had to buy 2 of those, like two $90 store pick bottles, and mind you, all the bundles, store picks that you would have to buy to get these. He's got a great palate, so it's not that bad. But for the Michter's 10-Year Rye, I would have ended up paying like $250 for it, something close to that, like $240, $250. And that's just right at the edge of what I would want to pay. Anyway, I digress. They had this Stagg available, and it was $200, and I would get this Stagg, and I would also get a Starlight single barrel that was finished in, I think it was either port or PX sherry casks. I think it was PX sherry casks, and he wanted like $80, $70 or $80 for the Starlight, and then I would have gotten the Stagg for about 120 to like $120. And at the time, I had not tried anything from Starlight, and I asked the spirits manager what batch of Stagg was available. and he told me 23B. And I had heard not the greatest reviews about 23B. It was off profile for a Stagg, and it wasn't great. Not like 23A or any of the previous 22s. And for $200, I'm going to be getting a Starlight for $80. And I'm like, well, I haven't tried anything. I didn't want to try the sample. I'm not really big into finished whiskey unless it's something that I've already had before and it's special. And I just didn't want to go down that route. And then for this Stagg, it was going to be $120, which at the time was quite reasonable. Most Staggs were going for like $250 at the time, or $200. And I thought, for $120, it's a really good price, but I'm going to get this bottle that I don't really want, and it's 23B. I don't know, like, I was on the fence, and it's around the holidays, and I didn't really want to spend that kind of money when I had, gifts to buy, and I had to travel, so I passed on it. Fast forward to around, I think it was February or March. It had been a while since I had come in, and I'd, been periodically checking in and checking the prices, and the bottles that he had didn't really change. This was still available for like $200. Thought, okay. And he had sold out of a couple things. He sold the Pappy. He sold all the Michter's 10-year. He sold all the Buffalo Trace products pretty much, except the Staggs. And it was still the PX Sherry. And I'm like, eh. And then one day in March, I come into the store, and he's updated the list. And on that list, he had 2 bottles that I was interested in. The first being this Stagg right here. You had to buy this Stagg. And you also had to buy this Pinhook single barrel Verical series 8-year-old bourbon. And what drew my attention to this was I have heard of Pinhook. Now, in case you're not familiar with Pinhook, they have this program where, before I even get into the Pinhook story, I want to smell this whiskey. Just sugar cookies, sweet cinnamon sugar cookies, snickerdoodles, and lots of oak and butterscotch. Oh, this is delicious. Goodness gracious, golly gosh, that's amazing. You can tell I like it. But this is a little too early in the story. So in case you're not familiar with Pinhook, I think it was 1,350 barrels that were purchased by a NDP, a non-distilling producer, and they placed them all at Castle and Key over in Frankfort, Kentucky. And the idea was that they bought all these barrels from MGP at around 4 years old, and they placed them off to the side, and they released them to the public over time, and they would follow each year. They would take a section of those barrels and bottle them and sell them. So there's a 5-year version of it. They took a series of barrels that were 5 years old from this batch of 150, and they released it. And then the year after that, after another year of aging, they did the 6. And then after another year of aging, at 7 years old, they took another batch of those barrels from the same group of 1,350 barrels and released them. And at the time that they purchased these barrels, they also offered a single barrel program to liquor stores across the country. What does that mean? That means you could buy, I think it was 9 barrels, 10 barrels, right, like 12. Essentially, they're going from 4 years old to 12 years old. So they skipped the first 3, so that would be 9 barrels that you would have to buy and put money into. I don't know what the arrangement would be, but 9 barrels that you would have to purchase. And each year you would get one of those barrels that they would bottle and send to you. And I thought this was just a gimmick at first. I saw the 4-year come out, or no, I saw a 6-year come out. I'm like, it was like $60. I'm not interested. 7-year came out. That was around $70. The 8-year came out. And coincidentally, this came out in March, right? And this is the single barrel for this particular store. And they had gotten like case after case after case of this. And this was for $85. Now, normally, I would not concern myself with 8-year-old MGP for $85, despite it being barrel proof and of a reasonable proof point, too. I think this is a 115.6. This is actually bottle 105 out of 210, so right down the middle. And it's 8 years old. But why did I buy this? Why did I buy this gimmick? Because the deal was, if you bought these 2 bottles, guess what the number would be out the door? $150. I could look at this 2 different ways. One, I could buy a Stagg for $150, mind you, 23B, and I get a bottle of 8-year-old MGP for free, $85, and I get a free bottle of whiskey. Okay, how bad can it be? Or I buy this bottle for $85, 8-year-old cast strength MGP, and I get a Stagg for MSRP, $65. I'm pretty sure even if it's a bad batch, this is gonna punch above its weight almost every time compared to, I mean, what are the other ones? Bernheim, Larceny, there's a few other brands we're thinking of for the age improved is around like 6-8 years, but from a big distillery like this, $65 for a Stagg. Sign me up. I don't care what batch it is. So I pulled the trigger. I bought it. I only bought the one. I didn't buy more. And this is the first time that I'm going to be trying this one. But I thought, wow, like, this is such a great idea. And even if I don't care for this MGP bourbon, I got a Stagg for $65. I'll just leave this bottle at my parents' house. They can drink it, and if I want, I could bring it to a bottle share, or I could like make it into cocktails. Like, it's gonna work just fine. Everything's gonna be great. But then I thought, okay, I'm gonna hold off on opening the Stagg. I'm gonna try the MGP first, and really bite the bullet and kind of gag my way through this. Guess what happened? This is delicious. And now I'm going to get into the nose. I had a sip. I couldn't stop myself. It's that good. Yeah, it's just like a nice little pear note at the bottom of the glass. And on top of that is oak, cinnamon, just ever so slight cinnamon dusting of oak, and predominantly butterscotch, a little bit of caramel, and just a lovely sugar cookie snickerdoodle note. Light amber color. Legs are quite nice. Just gently rolling down the glass and on the palate. Yeah, for 115 proof, that's amazing. Sweet, mouth coating, vibrant finish. I'm getting just sugar cookie. Just sugar cookies, pear, plum, oak, butterscotch, a little bit of cinnamon hots on the back end, and just a delightful finish to this whiskey. This is viscous. It's got a great mouthfeel. It doesn't impose. It's just like it's got like a red velvet oak in there. How do I? Yeah, that's actually a nice way of describing it. It's got red velvet cake oak in this bourbon with sugar cookies and snickerdoodles and just sliced pears and plums. Man, if I knew that MGP could make bourbon whiskey like this, I would have bought this a long time ago. In fact, I've gotten almost about halfway through this bottle. I'm definitely going to buy another one. This was the biggest surprise. I didn't think I'd like this as much as I like it. And this was a complete accident. I never would have bought this if it wasn't attached to this Stagg. And I think it was a genius move to price it the way that the spirit manager Chris priced it. I think he has a fine palate and a great idea, and kudos to him for picking up this single barrel Caesar series. Wow, single barrel Caesar series. You tell this is working already. I'm just impressed. I'm impressed and surprised with this bourbon. And I will add a little bit of water to that. I will try it. But now I'm going to go to this Stagg. See, this is my value proposition here. Oh, and I have a haircut. I got a new haircut. Can you notice? Yeah, if I didn't bring attention to it, nobody ever notices. But there's a little bit of Stagg here. Apparently it was a bad batch. I've heard it compared more favorably away from the cherry cola, root beer cola notes, and a little grassier, a little earthier, and much more akin to like a GTS, like a George T. Stagg. That remains to be seen. We shall take a look and see how that turns out. But I'm going to nose this. I'm kind of curious. Whoa. Wow, that's good. Yeah, that smelled good. I don't know what I smelled just there and then, but that smelled pretty dang good. I get oranges right off the bat. Yeah, I'm definitely getting oranges. There's a note in there that I can't quite place. I gotta keep smelling it. Maybe when I taste it, I'll get something more. You could definitely smell the oak, orange peel, candied citrus. There's a fruit note in there that I can't quite place. Maybe like a candied raisin I'm getting, like sugar-coated raisin. Dates and figs. Definitely dates. Date, fig, sugared raisins, orange peel, oak. A little hay. It smells grassy. I can see that earthy note is definitely a vibrant bass tone at the right in the middle of the glass. You can kind of feel it bouncing off the walls of the Glencairn. Smells really good. This might be right up my alley. I might be a little sad that I didn't get a backup bottle of this. But it's an unpleasant batch. of Stagg, so maybe I might run into another one or trade for it. Yeah, that smells really good. And the color is a deep dark amber. It's got some beautiful legs rolling around in there. I think I'm just going to taste it. I hope both of these are great. This already smells like it's going to be fantastic, but you never know. Oh, wow. Wow. Whoa there, Nelly. This is 127.8 proof. Wow. That's really good. That's really good. Why are people complaining about this? This is amazing. What are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. This is great. This is... Okay, so the first thing that came onto my palate was how powerful the mouthfeel felt. It was sake in the mouth, get right down to business, moved right through my palate, no problem, and it just shocked me with how stunningly delicious it was. I couldn't even taste it, it was that good, but I knew it tasted good. Excuse me. Oh, you know, I get that fig, date, candied raisin. Yep. The orange peel is a little less present. It definitely gets in on the back end of the palate. Oak everywhere. There's a dark red plum note in there. I'm definitely getting red plums, like dark red plums in there. And just a light layering of oak, like an interweaving oak threading its way through this bourbon. And the proof definitely shows up. It's strong. It's a very strong bourbon. And it's got character. It's got a lot of love in there. Hold on. I'm going to try this one. In fact, now, the nose of this smells even sweeter and lighter than this. This smelled dark and oaky and sweet, but bittersweet. Now it just smells light and delicate. The pear note is really coming to the front of my palate, or the front of my nose. Okay. So you can definitely notice a mouthfeel difference. This, which I thought was thick and visp, with like decent mouthfeel, this knocks this right out of the park, right? This almost feels thin compared to this one. The palate, though, I'm getting a lot more fruit. The pear just came up out of nowhere. And it's definitely overpowering any of the oak. But I still get sugar cookie. I still get snickerdoodle. But I'm going to go back to this one. Wow. And the finish on this one, I think I heard a phrase once that, a good whiskey is really good when it starts to climb up the roof of your mouth and climb up your teeth. This Stagg climbs right up my teeth. And if this is a neck pour, so this is about as bad as it's going to get. If this is the neck pour and it's already this good, I can't wait until it starts to tame itself. Until the lion that lives in this glass learns to pounce upon command and get into my jam that easily right off the gate. And it's not even relaxed yet. It's not even settled in. I know I'm not making any sense. This bourbon has really surprised me. Really surprised me. And it's also gotten me a little tipsy. Like, I think that helps. I think that definitely helps. This is great. I don't see what everybody's worried about. This is a really, really, really good bourbon. If this is a bad batch of Stagg, I mean, for $65, I don't think this is bad at all. I think this is great. This is as good or better than a lot of Elijah Craig barrel proofs I've had. This is better than almost every Larceny I've ever had. This is right up there with some seriously good whiskey. This is only 6 to 8 years old. Are you kidding me? I don't know how they do it at Buffalo Trace. The finish, I'm still tasting it. It's long lasting. It's great. Yeah. But I can definitely get that herbaceous, like in the finish and on the back palate. There's a lot of hay, straw, lavender, just herbal. There's a bit of an herbal spice. Sweet, but I can definitely see the herbal spice coming up. It's not like a smooth cola like I think most other Staggs are associated with. It's not like a ginger spice cake or anything like that. This definitely has, it's not quite a floral essence to it, but you can definitely tell it's a little bit more earthy. So that does ring true. And I hate reading other people's reviews because I feel like it affects my own palate, my own judgment of what I'm tasting here. Oh, hey, Popo. But yeah, I can definitely see that criticism. But it's still wonderful bourbon. If you have a chance to find this Stagg, I would definitely give it a try. If you have an opportunity to purchase an 8-year Pinhook pick, I would absolutely purchase that on any given day. And this is only going to get to 9, 10, 11, 12 year. Now, from what I understand, they are putting these barrels on the lower floors, so they're going to age a little slower and their proof is going to go down a little bit, which I think is a good thing, all things considered. But I guess the moral of this story is don't judge a book by its cover. And when you have a deal to pick up a store pick that you normally wouldn't purchase to get something that you want to purchase and that you are interested in it, I'd say give it a shot. Give it a shot, because now I am over the moon happy with this bottle. I'm going to buy a second one, and I can't wait to taste the 9-year. They still have some of the 7 and the 6-year behind the counter. I might even buy the 7-year or the 6. I think I'm going to try to think about how much it could change. Maybe I could do like a fun blind or, like a scale with that. But I'm really excited to see how this turns out when it gets to 9 years and 10 years and 12 years old. I am so excited to try this now. So this is on my list. And for this Stagg here, I got to take my hat off. I got to say this is great. It's delicious. And I paid $65 for it. In New Jersey, of all places, which is like, good luck finding a Stagg outside of a lottery. Good luck. Some places do it for charity, but most, it's just you pay what you're going to pay, and it's full secondary. But man, that was good. Man, these two are great. Oh my goodness. We're going to add a little bit of water. See how they react. And whoa. What a wonderful surprise. So yeah, I would say if you are interested in a cool experiment, pick up this Pinhook. It's really good. And that just opens right up. Gets a little thinner, but what was once a sugar cookie becomes like a sugar wafer. I would almost call it butterscotch cotton candy now. And you have just little slices of pear that have been dried or caramelized in sugar, and they're just lined up around the sides. And the snickerdoodle cookie has dissipated, but I would call it like a little, almost like a snickerdoodle rice pudding kind of flavor to it. Really good. I would hesitate to call it bad on any day. And the only reason why this kind of shrivels a little bit and shrinks in the face of such scrutiny is because the Stagg is getting tasted next to it. And not only does this have about 12 proof points on it, 12, like 6% more alcohol, but this just tastes much more mature. Much more mature. Oh. Wow. And that red plum practically soared into my palate. And it really, adding a little bit of water really brought out the fruit, highlighted the oak, brought back that herbaceous. Pretty much, if you took a strawberry, and you know how if you eat a strawberry whole, you get that little bit of green in your mouth, and if you pull off the tip of that strawberry, right, you take the leaves off, you still have that little thing there right in the middle, the little bit of stem that you have to take a knife and cut out the little middle so that you don't get that kind of tastes like a garden flavor in your mouth, and there's that little hard piece that just floats around in there, and you're kind of like, ugh, I want to spit it out, but you swallow it anyway because you're in polite company. Adding a little bit of water to this is like that with the strawberry. You just take a little bit of extra time to cut out that little piece of the stem, and now you're just left with all that fruit and none of the stem, so to speak. It's really good. I don't think there's a winner here other than me. These two are equally delicious and completely surprising. Yes, I paid more for this bottle, about $20 more, but I wouldn't have gotten to try this bottle if this one hadn't showed up. This one apparently is a bad batch, but I think it's great. Tastes amazing. It's delicious. And it got me excited for another bourbon other than the really hyped up bourbons that I know are probably going to be really good. And judging by how this 6 to 8 year old bourbon in here tastes remarkably more mature than this 8-year-old here, makes me think, you know, if I do next year buy the 9-year, I want to taste the 9-year to this, taste the 10-year to this, the 11 to this, and the 12 to this. If this bottle of Stagg is still there, mind you. But I think that would kind of be a cool comparison to see just the limits of what a Stagg can do when faced with age, especially with a decent MGP whiskey that is just getting better and lower proof, probably, but that just is getting looked after and taken care of and slowly led upon the route of old age of, 11, 12 years old for a barrel whiskey is pretty old. I think that'd be an interesting experiment and a good idea for a video. But man, these two bourbons are great. And I urge you to find a single barrel vertical series of your own. We're going to finish that one off. Thank you for surprising me. Like liquid love. This just gives you a hug. It just gives you a nice warm hug and says, thank you, welcome home. Welcome home. Thank you. It's gonna. That was really good. And Mr. Staggeroony, you have been kind to me today. You have made your mark. You are an amazing whiskey. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what kind of bad thoughts I had about your productive qualities. You are a fantastic whiskey. And that just climbs up your gums and it just escapes to the roof of your mouth like it's trying to ascend to a higher plane of flavor existence. If this is a bad batch, I can only imagine what a quote-unquote good batch is of Stagg. This is the first one I've ever had. I think this is a worthy bourbon. And like I said, for $65, can't beat this. This is really good. I can understand why people would want to pay $100 or $200 for this bottle. Would I pay $100 for this bottle or $200 for this bottle? I'm gonna say no. Yeah, no. I'm gonna say that pretty strongly. No, I would not pay over $100 for this bourbon. I'll explain my reasons. I don't think that this bottle is $100 or $40 or $80 better than an ECBP or a Larceny, or even for $100 a Four Roses single barrel select pick. I've had Four Roses single barrel select picks that are better than this for $100, or like 109 out the door, or 104 out the door, something like that. I've had better picks than this. For $65, I would buy this again in a heartbeat, because that's a little cheaper than ECBP, and it's about the same price as Rare Breed, maybe a little bit more expensive, but worth every penny. This is just a stellar, or like a Russell's Reserve single barrel pick. Unless it was a really special Russell's Reserve single barrel pick, I still would probably buy this. $15 less. For $15 less, I don't think this is $100 or $150 whiskey. I gotta say, maybe with the really good batches of Stagg, it's $100 to $150, but I just don't think it's that good. And mind, this is me being stunned with how good this is. Okay, stunned at how good this is. And I'm saying this is not worth $100. No. I think this is an amazing whiskey at the price that it should be sold at. $65. This is the king of $65 bourbon. The king. When you start getting up to $80, $90, $100, it goes from a king to a duke to a count to a marquise. It's still royalty, but once you start getting to that level of closer to $100, now you're getting into the territory, in my opinion, of if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I want, a Russell's 13, I want a Russell's 15, I want a Four Roses LE. I want a GTS. I want a Pappy. If I'm going to spend, I want a Master's Keep. I'm not even going to say a Woodford batch proof. Like, I haven't tried it. I'm not going to. I don't like Woodford. But once you start getting past $100 for a bottle of whiskey, I think you start getting into the realm of this needs to be a special bottle that I pull out for special occasions because the stuff in that bottle just has a little bit of magic, right? And while I think this Stagg is an absolutely stunning example of whiskey, and I am glad that I have had a drip and drop of this whiskey, I don't think this has got the magic in it. I don't. I think it's really good. I think it's great. I think it's jaw-droppingly delicious. But do I think this is special? Not really. No. I'm glad that I got this for $65. I'm thrilled. I think it's an amazing deal. But I'm just going to say no after $100. I'm glad. I'm glad that I learned this fact from sipping on this bottle. And I'm going to enjoy every last drop of this bottle like you wouldn't even believe. I will sparingly drink this because I think it's that great. But it ain't $100 great. And if I'm going to spend over $100 on a bottle of bourbon, why not just, I know, why not just spend 200 or 3, right? Like, okay, I can get 3 of these bottles. Is it really worth that money to get an even more highly desired, higher aged, well crafted whiskey that's been blended by the master distillers, or a batch proof product like this? All right, that's just my opinion. I'm going to stop waxing on about my opinions on such things. But, yeah. If you have a chance to try the 23B, buy it. Buy it. Buy it. It's really good. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this pour. I'm going to enjoy the last bit of this whiskey in this glass. That's really nice. Oh. I'm just messing around. That's really good whiskey. This is fantastic whiskey. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I really can't wait to smell these glasses tomorrow morning. So I think that's going to be my new catchphrase. We'll see if it catches on. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful evening. And goodbye.